Welcome back to Many Toys Of, the show in which we go over the action figure history of various Transformers characters. And today we're going to talk about an often maligned character. A character that went from being one of the standout examples of the Japanese media of Transformers to being James Roberts' punching bag. It's time for the Many Toys of Star Saber. Before we begin, a big thank you to Aneurysm, Ampreds19245, Short Family Videos 1580, Space 4392, Mildly Aggressive Oni, Scuffy 4930, Neo X Neo 2007, Scott Duncan 5525, Some Madness Fan 4763, Harube 5978, J Manza 0595, Orion 215X80, Finnan Dolls 16, Common Kuma 05, I really hope I translate this correctly, but Arseny Vasilov 18B, M.A. Kargoa 9553, the Mr. Okamedin, and thank you to Dell's Gunpla. Star Saber originated in Transformers Victory, and for many people, he is the poster child of the Japanese side of Transformers. He was the major commander of the Autobots during his era, and he's actually named after the sword he wields. The Star Saber is supposed to be an ancient weapon similar to Excalibur. Wielding Star Saber shows that you have honor, courage, and the ability to lead a galaxy. Star Saber was able to achieve the ownership of that sword because he was already the greatest swordsman in the universe, sure, but also because of his heart. He was just a lowly Autobot grunt when he first came online. It was only through his compassion, his integrity, his ability to hope, and ability to carry other people up with him that allowed him to become the greatest Autobot alive. And in the Japanese continuity, he is actually considered to be on par, if not a better leader than Optimus Prime. Also, I just want to point this out. We often call Optimus Prime the dad of the robots. Star Saber is one of the few Autobots to actually be a dad. He has an adopted son by the name of Jan. Jan was actually saved from a ship that had been destroyed, and Star Saber, feeling guilt over the fact that he was not able to save Jan's parents, took the boy on as his own child. It's actually really cute to see Star Saber reacting to a human child that has to go to school or have playdates. It makes him even more endearing. Star Saber is a bit of a goofy character, and yet there is an indelible sense of cool that comes from him. It helps that when he's supposed to be a little bit more lighthearted, he usually doesn't have his iconic helmet on. He usually walks around with a smaller blue head. But as soon as it's time for things to get rough, he screams, "Battle up!" and then gets that sick-ass helmet. There's something about Star Saber that is so unique to Transformers. Someone who can both be at home in a more lighthearted sitcom of an episode, and yet also be so believable when it's time for the more dramatic sword fights and emotional climaxes. Star Saber has that wonderful ability to be at home in whatever setting you put him in, which is why it's such a shame that IDW made him just a normal bad guy. He was just a human meat grinder. They took away a lot of the intrigue, a lot of the personality, a lot of the soul of a character that really is unique in Transformers. We have a lot of father figures, but not many fathers. We have a lot of funny characters and badass characters, but not a lot of funny badasses. Star Saber is like a chameleon. You put him in any setting, and he works. And that's a big reason as to why, out of all the Transformers anime, Victory is often lauded as being the best one. It really is on the back of Star Saber as our main protagonist. In 1989, you would have been able to get the Fight Super Robot Lifeform Transformers Brainmaster Star Saber. Now I want to tell you, there's actually a ton that goes into this toy. The actual character of Saber is a tiny Brainmaster, that little figurine there. Now he forms the face of Saber. That's the small robot with the blue chest. And that is a near Voyager-sized robot by itself. Has a full transformation that's incredibly clever, a nice-looking jet mode, good accessories to call their own. And then you get the battle platform. And I think the battle platform is also pretty nice. It doesn't really look like a base, but I could totally buy that it's just a pop-up defense platform, a gun emplacement that you would hastily slap together so that you could hold off Decepticons. Of course, that does form the back of the proper jet mode. And then finally, Star Saber. I do want to talk about this jet mode. It's just beautiful. It is massive. It completely outstrips almost any leader-sized jet. Even Siege Jetfire looks a little bit puny compared to the original G1 Star Saber. And then in that robot mode, sure, the articulation isn't much. He has shoulders and elbows. That's it. But look at the presence. Look at the presentation, the charisma. Star Saber is a beautiful looking robot. Granted, I do think the Star Saber sword is a little bit hokey. I don't know, I just don't like how thin it looks right where the blade meets the hilt. But I can't lie. Star Saber is a crown jewel of the G1 toy line. One of the best Transformers to come out of the 80s. A reason as to why so many American Transformers fans salivate at the Japanese toys and media that we never got over here. It's because Star Saber can hold his head up as perhaps the single best looking G1 toy of them all. Filled with gimmicks, great gimmicks. Filled with options, great options. And of course, able to stand like an absolute statue. He looks like Transformers David. And it helps that he can combine with Victory Leo to form Victory Saber, as if this toy needs just a little bit more to do. Star Saber is a massive achievement in Transformers. He's also a very rare toy to come by nowadays. Only ever released in Japan, and he now costs a pretty penny. Later that year, you'd be able to get Victory Leo and Star Saber in a 2-pack so that you could go ahead and build up Victory Saber. As the new Supreme Commander of the Autobots, it only made sense that Star Saber would have a few more options past that. You could have gone the Transformers Jr. Star Saber, a much simpler toy, but actually able to do all the modes and look pretty decent while doing so. There was also a deluxe set of the Transformers Jr. Star Saber that would have given you a camcorder that could shoot little pellets. But if you wanted to shoot people a little bit better, you could have gotten the Transformers Jr. Roleplay Toys Star Saber In-Band Pistol. No, it doesn't really look like a pistol, but it does kind of look like a Power Ranger gun. Kabaya would also have given you the Transformers Gum Star Saber. This is a plastic model kit. You have to take the pieces apart and build them back up. But again, it's kind of wild that they managed to put in every single mode, even the battle platform. The only thing you'd be missing here is the Brainmaster. To bring an amazing debut year to a close, you'd be able to get the Transformers Gum Victory Saber, a 2-pack of Star Saber and Victory Leo so that you could build up the combined mode. After such a great first year, it's kind of insane to think that in the second year of Star Saber, there was only one toy, the parody-deformed Star Saber, which could still become a Victory Saber because why the hell not? Star Saber would completely skip out on the Beast era, but would return in 2002 in a very different guise. Remember what I said earlier, the Star Saber isn't just the guy, it's also his sword. And for a while, it was the sword that would be more important to the name and the legacy. Because in Armada, the Star Saber was one of the main MacGuffins of the entire show. The Autobots and Decepticons spent entire story arcs fighting over the power of the Star Saber. It was wielded mostly by Hotshot, though occasionally Megatron took a turn with it. And it was once again shown to be a marker of greatness. Hotshot wielded Star Saber because Hotshot had it within himself to be the greatest leader of the Autobots. Whenever the time arose for him to take that extra step towards leadership, the Star Saber was usually there at his side. And when the Autobots didn't have Star Saber, it usually kicked off another moment of growth for Hotshot. I know it sounds strange, but similar to how Star Saber became the leader because he was able to pick up the sword, it feels like in Armada, an unspoken story element was the fact that Hotshot would only ever become great in the moments where he proved himself worthy of the sword, whereas the times he became arrogant, the sword would be taken away from him, usually by the Decepticons, but sometimes the minicons just outright didn't react to him. In 2002, you'd be able to get the Air Defense Minicon team. This is to give you sonar, jetstorm, and runway, and the three of them together, of course, form the Star Saber. And all I'm going to say is that for a sword made out of 3 tiny jets, it actually does a good job at looking like a sword. I know the Skyboom Shield and the Requiem Blaster are also there, but they never felt as important or as nice as the sword to me. The Requiem Blaster looks a little bit more like a Nerf gun. The Skyboom Shield looks like, I don't know, just a chunk of metal. Whereas the Star Saber proper still has a sense of regality to it, especially with that massive hilt. I love the sword, and I think it was one of the best Minicon packs in the entire series of Armada. In Takara Tomy markets, you'd be able to get Hotshot alongside the Air Defense team, and of course Jolt was still packed in. That is an amazing package. There was also the Air Defense Micron X Dimensions. This was a limited edition repaint of the Air Defense team, and it looks kinda like G1's Star Saber in coloration. Even with so many releases of the Star Saber sword, in Takara Tomy markets, they did not forget about that original Star Saber. He was able to appear in the Super Collection figure line, not just as his own guy, but also as a Victory Saber and as a gold version of Victory Saber. Some of the rarest figures in the entire Super Collection set are these far duller gold Star Saber and Victory Saber figures. Finally, you could have gotten the Mega Super Collection figure of Star Saber. This was an articulated, non-transforming version of him, and at that point, would have been the best figure of Star Saber's robot mode ever released. There would be a ton of repaints in 2003. There was the CD limited edition Star Saber. There was a Kabaya Candy version of the Star Saber, of course just another model kit. The Star Saber was included in the Micron booster set. There was a whole new repaint of the Air Assault Minicon team. This eventually would be redubbed the Dark Star Saber. The Star Saber would be an accessory in the Super Collection figure Convoy Super Mode, as well as the Convoy Normal Mode figurines. And to bring this very odd year to a close, you could have gotten a roleplay toy of the Star Saber. By 2004, it was time to bring the boy back, as Star Saber got a new mold in the Robot Masters line. Robot Masters is an odd toy line, kind of a missing link between the Unicron trilogy and the classics that would come later. That's where you would get the first new molds of characters like G1 Optimus or Starscream, Primal, Beast Megatron. And Star Saber in Japan was evidently considered to be on the same level as all of those A-listers. He was given this kind of simple, but still pretty nice toy. And the articulation is a bit lacking. But again, the presentation is very nice. I prefer how the sword looks here, and I enjoy the colors and the sculpting. He's a lot simpler, but this is a Star Saber that you can actually play with, and if you break him, it's not going to bankrupt you. This would also be the year that Star Saber would make his first appearance in Western media. Kinda. You see, in Energon, there is a character that is very much supposed to be Star Saber. He's modeled after Star Saber, he's designed to invoke Star Saber, his character is written similar to Star Saber, but his name is Wing Saber. And that's probably just because Star Saber in Armada is the sword. They didn't want to confuse people, so this character is now going to be Wing Saber. And of course, the Energon Wing Saber is beautiful looking and not great playing all at the same time. He is a brick. He basically has the same articulation as G1 Star Saber. But just look at the proportions and the colors. And when he transforms, he's a flying wing. That's actually kinda cool. Such a sleek, fast, stealthy vehicle is a pretty solid replacement for that spaceship. And of course, he's able to combine with Optimus. I'm not going to say that this is a great toy. I'm not even going to say that it's a very good toy. But it is a toy that looks amazing and gives you good options when it comes to Optimus Prime. Venturing back to Takara Tomy markets in 2005, there was the Victory Saber Limited Black version. Again, it's just that Robot Master Star Saber toy alongside Victory Leo, but they are now done in black and purple. How is this not the Shattered Glass version of Star Saber? I say that because in 2007 we got the Shattered Glass version of Star Saber, and it's the 2007 movie Sky Blast. Now, this was just another one of the kind of lazy repurposings that the club would do, but again, black and purple Star Saber right over there across the pond. Why is this tiny, boring, gray jet the one that you slap Star Saber's name on? Spiraling into 2009, Star Saber would be a part of the first wave of the new Transformers Gum series. This guy is definitely modeled after that Robot Master Star Saber. That's why his proportions are a little bit weird compared to most other G1 Star Sabers. But overall, solid toy. We've covered quite a few Star Sabers at this point, both the guy and the sword. But why don't we pump the brakes right here, right now? Because there are a few third-party options for Star Saber. Not many. In fact, surprisingly enough, there's more options for Atlas than Star Saber, but still a few to wet our beak with. The first third-party Star Saber I remember coming across was the Planet X Cadmos. And Cadmos here is supposed to be the IDW Star Saber. I'm sure a few of you just felt your skin crawl. But let's be fair, the IDW Star Saber is a good design. It's a lot more modern, looks a little bit more sleek and angular. If you can divorce the character from this design, it is a solid update for Star Saber. And Cadmos is a very good rendition of that design in toy form. The transformation's great, very beautiful looking jet, and even the robot mode is very heroic in appearance. I like how they did the sword, the hands are very well articulated. It's one of the best pieces that Planet X has ever done. For the Masterpiece Collector, there is the Iron Trans Starblade. This is definitely a more muted version of a Masterpiece Star Saber. I think that a lot of people felt that the Masterpiece Star Saber proper was a little bit too toy accurate. This is supposed to fit in more with the NP10 era of Masterpiece, where they were still a little bit more grounded and realistic in some ways. A solid toy, though admittedly one that's somewhat hard to come by these days. And finally, if you would like the Armada Star Saber, you could always go over to Fans Hobby, because Fans Hobby is apparently just making all the mini-cons at this point. Speaking about the Star Saber over Mr. Star Saber, let's go back to 2012, in which the sword would reappear on television in Transformers Prime. One of the artifacts of Primus, as soon as Optimus held the sword aloft in Season 2, it immediately changed the tide of the war. It was the single most powerful weapon ever constructed on Cybertron. And so powerful that they had to write it out of the show as quickly as they humanly could, because Megatron made the Dark Star Saber, and then the Dark Star Saber destroyed the Star Saber, and then Optimus was able to hammer it back together using the Forge of Solus Prime. I don't know, man. It gets kind of messy with the Season 2 artifacts. You'd actually be able to get the Star Saber in toy form before it even showed up in the show, because the sword that came with the Voyager Robots in Disguise Optimus is modeled after the Star Saber show design. A better painted version of that sword would come with the Battle Shield Optimus, a Japanese Toys R Us exclusive. This is wild. If you got the ARMS Micron Optimus, which was their release of the Weaponizer Optimus Prime, he had a massive chunk of armor that could also form the Matrix, or it could fold out and turn into a monster version of the Star Saber. I have no idea where this comes from. It kind of feels like you combine the Matrix with Star Saber with the Apex armor, but I kind of dig it. It's pretty cool. The most accurate version of the Star Saber up until that point actually came with the Prime Dark Energon Optimus Prime, mostly on the merit that it was blue now. The wildest version of this Star Saber, though, had to come from the ARMS Micron line. You see, if you got the ARMS Micron Optimus and Bombi and Ratchet, their weapons could form together to make a more Armada-flavored version of the Star Saber. It's kind of hokey looking, but I love the idea that if you were collecting the entire toy line, you would have a reward like this, a build-a-weapon, if you will. There would be a ton more plastic swords in 2013. The Cyberverse Commander Class Optimus Prime came with a Star Saber. This same sword would be released in the Optimus Prime vs. Predaking 2-pack. Came out one more time that year with the Beast Blade Optimus Prime. There was also this sick-looking version of the Star Saber that came with the Beast Hunters Voyager Class Optimus. Now, granted, the sword was never green in the show, but I do love how it looks in this toy. I always stand by this. This design works so much better as a toy than it ever worked in a cartoon, and the green sword just adds to that. Of course, if you popped over to Takara Tomy markets, you could have gotten the Go Hunter Optimus Prime, and that would have given you a more accurate version of this monster Star Saber. With so many releases of that damn sword, it was almost getting to a point where you might forget that Star Saber was also a man in his own right. Thankfully, in Takara Tomy markets, you could have gotten the GTR Saber. This is a heavy retool of Alternity Convoy, and admittedly, it doesn't really look like Star Saber. The head sculpt is decent, but truth be told, the colors remind me more of Diatlas than Star Saber. Star Saber came back in a massive way in 2015, because he was the winner of the Masterpiece Fans' Choice Poll. 31.2 of all the fans polled in Japan wanted Masterpiece Star Saber. And this toy is great. It's awesome. But it's also odd. Admittedly, it feels a whole lot more like a toy than a lot of the Masterpiece figures usually did. And there's many people who feel as though this figure is somewhat bloated. But I just can't see it that way. I love this Star Saber. You get all the components. You have the Brain Master, you have Saber, you have Star Saber, the separate jet modes. You can even fully take apart Star Saber's chest to see the Brain Master within, even in the fully combined mode. The articulation is great. Granted, the design is a bit puffy, so it is very likely that Star Saber is going to clash in on itself, but it's just nice. That sword is beautiful. The paint is beautiful. The sculpting is beautiful. I said back in the third-party section that this felt like the G1 toy with knees, basically. And that's kind of all we wanted, was just that original G1 design, able to transform with modern articulation. And I also love the story here. It wasn't made by Shogo Hisui. It was made by Hisai Yuki. Hisai Yuki is the person who made the original Star Saber toy. This feels like a full circle moment for one of Takara Tomy's most senior toy designers. And it's beautiful in that way. Star Saber, both the boy and the blade, took a break for a few years, before returning in the Kurokari Curry line in 2019. Kurokari Curry is the premier line of flame toys. It uses die-cast metal, LED lights, and is insane. The articulation and posability, painting and sculpting are all done to the highest level possible. And yes, it means that this is a very expensive Star Saber, and this Star Saber is not able to transform, but by God, does it look amazing. And it is an IDW Star Saber. I know that's always going to be something that turns people off, but there's no denying, in terms of big budget releases, this might be the most prestige piece that Star Saber has ever had. 2022 almost feels like a full circle moment for Star Saber's legacy, because both the sword and the guy came back. In Legacy, you could have gotten the Armada Star Saber alongside the Armada Universe Starscream. This is just an accessory sword. It doesn't form the minicons anymore, but it was nice to see the sword propped back up in a toy line. Of course, there was also the HasLab Victory Saber. Now, I want to say this. I am often very critical of HasLab. I feel as though the quality control on some of the HasLab pieces are inexcusable. And I also maintain that I think most things that are HasLabs should have been released at mass retail so that more fans could have been given options when it comes to getting them. That said, if I put all my criticism of HasLab to the side, I do think that the single best product they've released is Victory Saber. Star Saber, especially, is perfect. It's basically the Masterpiece guy again, but with stronger joints, and he does fit in better in a Generations display than the Masterpiece boy ever fit into a Masterpiece collection. You're able to do all the gimmicks, you have the platform, you have the Brain Master, you got the individual Saber bot mode and the transformation there. Star Saber is even better articulated, wonderful paint. There's almost an uncanny element to seeing Star Saber and Victory Leo and Deathsaurus. They're so well painted and sculpted that they look like 2D characters put onto our real 3D environment. It is a very, 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 very nice toy. And the fact that Victory Leo is great and they form Victory Saber still, that's incredible. Jesus Christ, I gotta make an addendum while I'm editing. As it turns out, there was a quality control issue with the HasLab Victory Saber. The gold chrome is usually chipped as soon as you open the box, and there's often a scratch across his mouth plate. Even when I thought HasLab had a win, they didn't actually. Jesus Christ, there's an addendum to the addendum. I just talked to some people I know who own Victory Saber. It's leaking. It's apparently developing a fluid droplets or residue around the knees, and no one knows where that's coming from. What the hell is this toy? Going into 2025, there wouldn't be any appearances of Mr. Star Saber, but there would still be Star Sabers floating around. If you got the Age of the Primes, Prima Prime, you could have gotten that aligned continuity Star Saber, and this is the most accurate toy of the Prime Star Saber that we've ever gotten. And there was also the Generations Armada Nemesis Prime and Air Defense Minicon team. I really wanted to love these guys, but not only are they super expensive, as it turns out, Jetstorm is very likely to break. His hips are very, very, very thin, and as a result, you're probably going to snap them if you try to, transform them out of the sword. So, that kind of sucks. I hate that we have to end on that one. And that's it. I feel really bad for Star Saber. No wonder a lot of the Japanese Transformers fans make fun of the American side. Look at how we've massacred their boy. And I'm not just talking about the IDW stuff, but a lot of times Star Saber's figures have been met with bad quality control. The Masterpiece had loose joints. I'm only now finding out that the HasLab Star Saber is pissing itself. And even the Armada Star Saber is now snapping at the hips. It makes me feel bad. There's this character who's emblematic of an entire nation's contribution to Transformers. Transformers' home country, mind you. And Star Saber's been so mangled and misaligned, mistreated, misrepresented. I hate that there's probably more people out there who think of Star Saber as the raving lunatic and the fundamentalist extremist, as opposed to Star Saber the dad, Star Saber the noble leader, Star Saber the great swordsman. Even that, the idea that Star Saber was a great swordsman, didn't really pop up in IDW. Every time he fought Cyclonus, he was jobbed out. And eventually, Cyclonus just cut him in half, as if to say, well, that's the end of that. Star Saber here in the US is just the sword. And even the sword isn't treated that special. After Armada, it stopped showing up until we needed just an accessory to put with Armada Starscream. In Prime, it was a big deal for a few episodes until Megatron said, I'll just make my own. Star Saber is constantly made to look lesser, inferior. Both the man and the sword are given that treatment. And that's depressing. This is a character that still in Japan is a very big deal. In the Takara Tomy side of Transformers, on the Japanese side of the fandom, Star Saber is still one of the most popular characters, just as beloved as an Optimus or a Megatron, just as important as a Primal or a Beast Megatron. But you would never know that looking at cartoons or comics or shows. It makes me realize Transformers is an international fandom. It is an international franchise. And yet it's been so pigeonholed by the American side. Things only get new toys. Things only get celebration if it happens here on the Hasbro end. And that sucks. Transformers is supposed to be a collaborative project. More than meets the eye and all that. It's all the working relationship of designers spread across 2 companies, 2 hemispheres. And yet, the stuff on the Japanese side is treated as disposable. Sure, bring Star Saber over. We need a bad guy for More Than Meets the Eye. Sure, bring Star Saber over. We need something for the HasLab this year. Sure, bring Star Saber over. We need another MacGuffin for Prime Season 2. That's odd, isn't it? That Star Saber has never properly been given a bite of the apple. Never been given spotlight. Never been given a moment to shine. Even Atlas has been treated better than Star Saber. And that feels wrong. I'm sorry, it just does. It feels wrong. For so long, I kind of brushed people aside when they would complain about how Star Saber was used. Because I would think to myself, well, I mean, at least Star Saber is still a name that's around. But is it worth being around if everything that made you special gets stripped away from you? I just don't know. But guys, I'll ask you, which was your favorite Star Saber? And is there a Star Saber you're trying to track down right now? Sunday should be the many toys of Megastorm. It's kind of nice. We're doing 2 pretty important Japanese characters here this weekend. And then for proper Thanksgiving, we're going to cover the many toys of Omega Supreme. Thank you guys all so much for watching. And if you would like to support me or the show, I'm on Patreon. $1 will give you access to my Discord server, Moonbase1. $5 will allow you to watch videos early and download videos directly from me. And $10 will allow you to be a producer. You'll show up in every video I make from now on and be able to make direct Patreon requests to me. Thank you all so much for watching, and hey, we'll see what we get up to next time.